In this video, you're finally going to get some styles in place so our app looks a little less like an unstyled HTML page and a little more like a real web app. Now on the left, we have this people panel. We're not going to be wiring that up yet, although we are giving it a place inside of our page. Eventually, this is going to store a list of all the people connected to the individual chat room. That's going to come a bit later. Over here, the main area is going to be the messages panel. Now the individual messages are still unstyled. That's going to come later, but we do have a place to put all of that stuff. Down below, we have our footer. This includes our form for sending a message, the text box and the button, and it also includes our send location button sitting right here. Now to get all of this done, we're going to add a CSS template that I've created for this project. We're also going to be adding some classes to our HTML. This is going to let us apply the various styles. And finally, we'll be making a few small tweaks to our JavaScript to improve the user experience. Let's go ahead and dive in. The first thing we're going to do is make a new folder and a new file to store our styles. This is going to be the template styles we'll be grabbing in just a moment. Then we're going to go ahead and load it into index.html so those styles are used when we render the chat app. Now the first thing we're going to do is create a new folder inside of public, and we're going to call this folder CSS, and we're going to add just one file to it. A new file called styles.css. Now, before we go off and grab any styles, let's go ahead and import this file into our application. And in order to test and make sure that it's working, what we're going to do is write a very simple selector. We're going to select everything using the star. Then inside of curly braces, we're going to add a style, setting the color for everything equal to red. Go ahead and make your file just like this one. We're going to save it, and then we'll import it over inside of index.html. Right here at the bottom of the head tag below our meta tag, we're going to add a link tag. This is going to let us link a style sheet. We have to provide two attributes to get that done. First off, we have to tell HTML exactly what we're linking to by specifying the rel or relation attribute. In this case, we're trying to link a style sheet. So we're going to provide that as the value. Now the next thing we need to do is provide the href attribute. This is similar to the source attribute for the script tag. It's the path to the file you want to link. In this case, we have that at /CSS, and we just created the file styles.css. /styles.css. With this in place, we can save index.html and give our page a refresh over inside of the browser or load it up for the very first time. And what we see is a hideously ugly page. We've managed to make it even uglier than it was previously, but this is great because it means our style sheet file is getting imported correctly. Now, in order to grab the actual template we're going to be using for the chat app, we're going to visit a URL, http://links.mead.io, my site, /chat-css. This is just a bit.ly link that's going to redirect you over to a gist. And here we have two options. We can grab either the minified style template or the unminified one. I'm going to go ahead and grab this minified one by either highlighting it or clicking this raw link, which brings us to the file. We're going to grab the entire contents we see here, head over into Atom, and paste it inside of our CSS file, removing obviously the previous selector. Perfect. Now that we have this in place, we can give our page a refresh, although we're not really going to see much improvement. Over inside of localhost 3000, I'll give the browser a refresh, and clearly things are different, but it doesn't look anything like that screenshot we had in the beginning of this video. That is because we need to apply some classes to our HTML in order to get everything to work correctly. We're also going to need to tweak the structure, adding a few container elements to help with alignment. Over inside of Atom, we can get this done in just a few minutes. This template was built around a few key classes. The first one needs to get applied to the body by setting the class attribute equal to, inside of quotes, chat. This tells the style sheet to load the styles for this chat page, and we're going to go ahead and remove welcome to the chat app. This is no longer necessary. Now the next thing we're going to do is create a div, and this div is going to house that people list we saw on the left-hand side. It's going to be empty for the moment, but that's fine. We can still go ahead and create it. Right here, we're going to make a div, and we're going to give this div a class, and that class is going to get set equal to the following: chat underscore underscore, that's 2 underscores, sidebar. This is a naming convention used in some style sheet templates. It's really a matter of preference. You could call this whatever you want when you create the style sheet. I happen to call it chat underscore underscore sidebar. It's a sub element inside of the greater chat app. Now inside of here, we're going to add a little title using the header3 tag. We're going to give this a title of people or whatever you want to call that sidebar list. And we're also going to provide a div which will eventually house the individual users. Although, as I mentioned, we're not going to be wiring that up yet. Now we can go ahead and give this an ID, setting it equal to users so we can target it a bit later. And that's all we need for the chat sidebar at the moment. Now the next thing that we're going to do is create a div. And this div is going to house that main area, which means it's going to contain not only our chat messages, but also the little form at the bottom, everything on the right-hand side of the sidebar. This also is going to require a custom class for some styles. This one is called chat underscore underscore main. And inside of here, we're going to add not only our unordered list, but also our form and button. Let's go ahead and take all of our current markup, the unordered list, down to the send location button, cut it out, and paste it inside of chat main. Now we're not quite done yet. There are a few more things to tweak. First up, we have to add a class to our ordered list. We'll set the class equal to chat messages. This is going to provide the necessary styles. And the last div we need to create is going to be for that footer. This is going to be the gray bar at the bottom that contains both your form as well as the send location button. We're going to make a div which is going to help with alignment, and we're going to add the form and the button inside of it by cutting it out and pasting it right in here. Now we are going to need to provide a class here too, as you might have guessed, setting the class attribute equal to the string chat underscore underscore footer. Now we have all of our classes in place, and we can head over to the browser and see what we get when we give the page a refresh. What we get is something a little similar to what we had previously, but obviously there are some notable differences. The footer is not quite rendering correctly. If we head back over into Atom, we can take a look at just why. Right here, we have a div. This div has a class of chat footer, but class was spelt wrong. All I have to do is go ahead and fix that typo, give the browser a refresh one more time, and now we're getting the complete picture. We have our styled chat application, and we can still do whatever we were able to do before. I can send off a message. Hey, this should still work. Hit enter, and hey, this should still work, shows up to the screen. The same thing is true for send location. I can send off my location. This is going to send it to the server. It's going to send it to all the clients, and right here I can click the my current location link, and the location is going to show up inside of Google Maps. We've maintained all of the old functionality while adding a nice set of styles. Now, for the second half of this video, I want to make some user experience improvements to the form down below. One improvement we're going to make is wiping the text value once a message was successfully sent. We're also going to do something similar with send location. As you might have noticed, it can take up to a second or two for the send location geolocation call to actually complete. We're going to set this button to be disabled so someone doesn't spam it wondering what's happened. We're also going to update the text to say sending location so someone knows that something is happening in the background. Now, in order to get both those things done, all we need to do is modify a few lines over inside of index.js. Near the bottom of the file, we have our two jQuery event listeners. Both of these are going to get changed. Now, the first thing we're going to change is going to be the form submit listener. Right here, we fetch the value from the field, and that's what we pass along. What we want to do down below inside of the acknowledgement callback is clear the value. Once the request has been received by the server, there's no reason to keep it around. So what we can do is add the same jQuery selector, which we'll break out in just a moment, targeting the field where the name attribute equals message. And we're going to go ahead and clear its value by calling val once again. But instead of getting a value by providing no arguments like we do here, we're going to set the value to an empty string by passing in an empty string as the first argument. You could set the value to anything you like, but in this case, we just want to clear it. So we're going to use the following method call. Now we have the same selector twice to speed things up. We're going to make a variable. We'll call that variable message text box. And then we can go ahead and set it equal to the selector we just created down below. And now we can refer to message text box anywhere we need access to that input. Right here we can reference it, message text box, and down below. Message text box. Awesome. Now the listener for create message, which is over inside of server.js, sits right here. And we do indeed call the callback with a string. For now, we're going to just remove that bogus value, passing in 0 arguments. This means that the acknowledgement function will still get called over here, but we don't actually need any data. We just need to know when the server responded. Now that we have this in place, we can go ahead and refresh things over inside of localhost 3000, type a message. Here is a message and hit the enter key. And what do we get? We get the value cleared and it was indeed sent. The same thing is going to hold true if I type in a message and click the send button. Now, one thing we're going to do real quick is update the input tag for this text box. If I refresh the page, we're currently not brought right into the message field. It would be really nice to do that. It would also be really nice to turn off autocomplete. As you can see, autocomplete isn't really a useful feature. It's hidden down below, and the values inside of it are usually trash. So what we're going to do over inside of Atom is add 2 attributes to customize the input. The first one is going to be autofocus, which doesn't require a value. Autofocus is going to autofocus on this input when the HTML gets rendered. And the second one we're going to add is autocomplete, and we're going to set that equal to the string off. With this in place, we can save index.html, head back over to Chrome, refresh the page, and test things out. I'm going to type in test right here. I have no autocomplete, which is good. We turned that off. And if I click the send button, I am indeed still sending the message. I was also brought right into the text box when I reloaded the page. I didn't need to do anything in order to start typing. Perfect. The next thing we're going to do is customize that send location button using a bit more jQuery. Now, we're new to jQuery, and this isn't really a jQuery course. You can feel free to try to treat some of these as challenges, though I won't be giving you many jQuery-related challenges. We're going to stick to the challenges that require you to do some Node code. The goal here is to change the button text and disable it while the process is occurring. When the process is complete, meaning that the location was either sent or not sent, we can return the button to its normal state. But while the geolocation call is happening, we don't want someone spamming away. To get that done, we're going to make some tweaks to the final on listener we have inside of index.js. Just below our on submit listener, we have our on click listener. Here, we're going to need to make some changes to the button. The location button variable we have defined right here. We're going to set an attribute that's going to disable the button. To get that done, we will reference the selector up above, location, button, and we're going to call a jQuery method. Now, we're only going to disable it after we've confirmed they even have support for it. If they don't have support for the feature, there's no reason to go ahead and disable it. Right here, location button.attr is going to let us set an attribute. We're going to set the disabled attribute equal to the value disabled. Now, this disabled needs to be in quotes as well, just like this. Now that we have disabled the button, we can actually test this out. We never undisable it, so it's going to be broken after clicking it once, but we can confirm that this line works. Over in the browser, I'm going to give things a refresh, click send location, and you can see right away that the button does get disabled. Now, it is going to send off the location once, but if I try to click it again, the button's disabled and it's never going to refire the click event. The goal here is to only disable it while the process is actually occurring. Once it's sent, like it is here, we want to re-enable it so someone can send an updated location. To get that done, over inside of Atom, we're going to add a line of jQuery into both the success handler and the error handler. If things go well, we're going to reference location button, and we're going to remove the disabled attribute by using remove attr. This takes just one argument, the name of the attribute. In this case, we have that. It's a string, disabled. This is going to remove the disabled attribute we defined above, re-enabling the button. And we can do the exact same thing, literally copying and pasting the line down below. If for some reason we're not able to fetch the location, maybe the user denied the request for geolocation, we still want to disable that button so they can try again. Now that we have this set up, we can test out that code by refreshing the browser and trying to send off our location. We should see the buttons disabled for a little bit and then it gets re-enabled. There we go, it's disabled. It's about 1, 2, 3 seconds, and there we go. The location has been processed. We can click it to prove that it is working as expected, and the button was re-enabled, which means we can go ahead and click it at a later time, sending our location once again. Now, the last thing we're going to do is update the button text while the process is occurring. To get that done, over inside of Atom, we're going to use that text method we've used in the past. Right here, we're going to set the text equal to, by calling text, sending, location, ... Now, the real button text is send location with a capital L. I'm going to go ahead and lowercase that to keep things uniform. Awesome. Now that we have this set up, we are updating the text while the process occurs. The only thing left to do is tweak it back to its original value down below by setting text equal to the string, send location here, and we're going to do the exact same thing down below. Calling text, passing in the string, send location. Excellent. Now we can go ahead and test that this is working as expected. Both of these lines are identical. Regardless of whether it succeeds or fails, we're going to do the same thing. Over inside of Chrome, I'm going to give my page a refresh one more time. We're going to click that send location button, and you can see the button is disabled and the text was changed. Sending location shows up, and as soon as the process is complete and the location was actually sent, the button returns to its default state. With this in place, we now have a much nicer user experience than we had previously. Not only do we have a nice set of styles, we also have a better UI for our form and the send location button. That is where we are going to stop for this one. Let's go ahead and make a quick commit by shutting down the server, running git status, running git add to add all of those files. And finally, we're going to go ahead and run git commit with the M flag, providing a message, add CSS for chat page. We can go ahead and push this up to GitHub, and I'm going to avoid deploying for Heroku right now, although you are welcome to deploy and test your application live. And that is it for this one. I will see you next time.